Hi, my name's Michael Ashton and I work here at Alterian in the Professional Services Department, and today I'm going to run through when to use global and local variables within Alterian Campaign Manager. So what are global and local variables? So global variables are variables that may be used frequently by many users in many different campaigns. For example, you might want to have a variable called promo code offered, which would have values that were offered to individuals, so 10% off offer or buy one get one free, for example. You also might want to have a variable for campaign type to group together similar campaign types, so win back campaigns or upsell campaigns, for example. Local variables, on the other hand, are variables that may only be used within a specific campaign. You would not want the same variable to be used by another campaign or another user. So for example, you might want to have a communications counter variable that's used within the campaign to count and then limit the amount of communications sent to a customer. And that's really just to help the inner workings of the campaign, so that we're not going to send too many communications out to that individual. So we've got an example scenario just to show you how you might want to implement these different variables. So we're designing a win-back campaign to convert lapsed customers into frequent purchasers. There are a few different win-back campaigns that we want to group together for reporting, so we'll probably want to use a global variable in that scenario. We also want to limit the amount of communication sent to individuals to 5, because we don't want to annoy these customers and be upset with the brand. So I'm just going to go ahead and open up Campaign Manager. So if I go into Variable Manager, this is where you would create a global variable. So if you just select Add New here, you can create your global variable here. First of all, you need to set the propagation level. So I'll just run through what all of these mean. So starting at campaign level, this will be one value for the entire campaign will be set. So this might be the campaign type or a brand, for example. So if you if you have a campaign that's for a specific brand and you need to report on that, you might want to have a variable called brand and then set the value accordingly for that entire campaign, and that will then subsequently be recorded against the master campaign table, which I can show you in a bit. So campaign and recipient. So this variable is stored for the specific campaign, for the specific individual. So for example, the promotion code offered to that individual. And finally we have recipient. So the variable value is recorded against a recipient regardless of the campaign. For example, you might want to increment an engagement score for individuals across all campaigns. So you might have 5 campaigns, for example, all incrementing this engagement score, so you can understand how engaged that individual is. So this is where you'd set your global variables. If you want to set a local variable, you can go into the Variables tab here and select New, and then exactly the same way you would set your local variable here, and the only difference is that this variable will only be accessible within this campaign. So I've set up a local one already called comms counter, and you'll see here we've already got campaign type and promo code. So if I just open up a new campaign, and if I use the set variables tool, you'll see that I've only got the global variables available to me. I don't have the comms counter available to use. Okay, so that's that set up. So just to recap, I've got a local variable called comms counter, which is a numeric local variable, which is saving at the campaign and recipient level. So this is stored at the individual and the campaign level. And I've got a global variable called campaign type, that's been recorded at the campaign level, and I've got a few different options such as promotional, upsell and win back. So how I'd actually use that in a campaign, we've got our win back campaign here. So firstly, our audience, let's imagine this is everyone that hasn't ordered with us within the last year, for example. People flow into this start track. We initially set the campaign type to win back, so I'm setting the campaign variable to win back here. I then send everyone to the send comms. So I'm using an if branch here, and what that's saying is the comms counter greater than or equal to 5, or has the individual purchased within the last 7 days. So obviously if someone's purchased within the last 7 days, they're no longer elapsed customers, in which case we probably don't want to try to encourage them to convert to be a customer again. So if they fall into any of those buckets, we just send the individual to the end, but if they don't, we update the comms counter by 1 and then implement the email. So that's how you could use certain variables within a campaign, and just to show you actually how that might look within the campaign history, the comms counter, because it was saved at the campaign and recipient level, gets stamped within the outbound contact history table, which is the customer contact history. And in this occasion, this individual's been sent the communications twice, so I've got a value of 2 there. And the global variable campaign type will also be stamped at the master campaign level, so that's set for win back. So as you can see, both of those variables get stored into the contact history and the master campaign history for reporting later on. Great, okay, well I hope you found that useful. That's just a couple of ways that you might want to use global and local variables.